Hello and welcome to another episode of the Wisdom of the Tangents podcast. I'm your host, John Mansfield. Today I got a solo show for you. And this one I think is going to be really good because I feel like it's very... what if I started an episode and I was like, you know what? This episode, not great. You should probably skip this one. I'm always like, this is going to be a good conversation or this is going to be a good episode. Mostly because I'm just excited for the topics that we talk about. This one especially, I am a constant learner. I am a student of life. It is just, I always want to be learning. I don't want to be stagnant. I don't want to stay because like as soon as you stop learning, what was it? I've heard someone say this, like if you're not learning, you're dying. Or something like that. I don't know. Kind of, you get the gist of that. Like, I always heard a good analogy of like a brook or like a stream of like the water's moving, you're continuing to grow, you're continuing to learn things, and there's life there, and there's, it's clear, and you can drink the water. I wouldn't recommend it, but maybe if you're desperate, if you're like out there, maybe with one of those like fancy water bottles that filters it. But anyway, like there's life, there's frogs, there's plants, it's growing trees and algae and stuff on the side. And then if you're not growing, if you're staying stagnant, it is just like a pool of water that's just sitting there and it's attracting mosquitoes and gnats and gross things and it smells terrible. And you don't want to smell terrible. So, one, you're already moving because you're listening to this episode. You are continuing your education because you get free education from podcasts just like this one. So thank you. Thank you for being here. And yeah, I'm a constant learner because I don't want to be stinky. I don't want to be a stinky puddle. And I want to just continue to grow. I think that we should be learning no matter our age, no matter where we are in business, just continue to learn and grow. And it's like, I love learning from other people, from like going to conferences, workshops, stuff like that, because you don't know what you don't know. And I remember it was 2018, probably. I had been... I had started the photography business about 5 years before that and was doing okay. I'd gone probably a good 2 solid years of being full-time. And I was self-taught. I did not really go anywhere. I say self-taught. Some of you regular listeners are like, you just had Pi Jersa on a couple months ago, and y'all talked about how no one is self-taught. So yes, I was quote unquote self-taught because I didn't have any formal education. I didn't read anything. I didn't even read my camera manual. I just like pressed buttons and tried to figure out stuff. We didn't have YouTube University back then. It wasn't what it is today. So I didn't know much about my camera. I knew like shutter speed, aperture. I can make it look like I want to, as bright as I want, and I can freeze time enough to where they're not blurry. But I went to this workshop. My friend Devin Robinson, before he was my friend, we became friends at that workshop, and I had admired his work for a while and went there ready to learn. And he said something about like, yeah, let's step outside. These are my settings. I'm normally at like ISO 100, 200, something like that. And I was just like, oh, you can change your ISO. Okay, cool. And looked at my camera, which I had bought used, and it came set at ISO 1600. And now this was not a great camera. This was, I think, a Nikon like D3200. So for the Nikon heads out there, the Nikors, this is like starter camera. I think it was $300. Is not great. And the ISO range was like, it went to 6400 and that was max. So being at 1600, everything was grainy and I couldn't figure out why my photos were grainy. Even in sun, even in bright daylight, they would still turn out grainy a little bit. And that was because I was shooting everything at 1600 ISO, which I learned from that workshop, from continuing my education, something that I didn't know, something that I had not even known that I needed to look for, of like, what is this number? I didn't even know how to change it on my camera at that point. I'm sure most of you listening are way past that. I hope you are, but if not, you're welcome. Now you know what ISO is. Or actually, I didn't explain it, but you know that you should figure it out. But like, that is a way that I learned from someone else. It improved what I was doing, and I was able to grow from there. And that also caused me to want to learn everything else about all the settings in my camera. So with that, I love going to conferences. I love the community aspect of conferences. I love going and just learning from other people, other peers. I've been in the business for a while. I've had this podcast for a while. So usually whenever I'm going to a conference, there are a few friends there that I already know. And I recently went to the Creative Educator conference, and there were a ton of friends there, just like industry friends, some whom I had never met, and then I got to meet there, and others who had been on the podcast. I think there was like 10 or 11, including speakers and attendees who had been guests on this podcast. And then we either got to meet in person or we got to see each other again in person, which is really fun. And that spurred me to create this podcast episode about what a good conference looks like, because I've been to some pretty terrible conferences where I walked away just like, well, at least I made a couple friends, or at least I learned this one thing, maybe. Or maybe I learned that I'm not coming back again next year. And I've been to some really amazing conferences like Creative Educator Conference. And I've got like a whole list of some of my favorites on my blog. I'll link that too. But I'm mostly going to be talking about that one because I just got back, like, I don't know, a few weeks ago. So something that I think is really great for a conference to do. So if this is also a great episode if you are looking to host a conference, maybe incorporate some of these things. Communication before the conference is great with the people who have bought a ticket and are planning to go. Just communication. Think of some frequently asked questions. We do this in our business anyway, whether you're a photographer or whatever you do, you educate your potential clients. You educate your clients, like once they've purchased with you, like a wedding photographer. Once someone has booked with you, you are educating them. You are saying, hey, for your engagement session, here's some location ideas. And like, you are the professional. You are keeping them in the loop to where they're not sitting around wondering, I don't know, what should I do? What's next? What are my next steps? And I have been to some conferences where it's like I book and then it's crickets until a week before the conference. They're like, I'm so excited that you're going to be here in a week. Here's the schedule for the day. And like, I feel like I missed out on really getting excited in the build up to the conference. And also, like, I had to figure out my own lodging and figure out, do I need a rental car, or is this all going to be at the same place, and those kind of things. So having that continued communication before the conference is great. That was a lot of C words that my brain was trying to differentiate between. Kids, I'm going to tell you an incredible story. A story about how I met your mother, and I'll tell it in less than 9 years. Years ago, I used to spend all of my time editing photos and straightening and cropping and color grading all of my friends thought I was antisocial, but really, I was just overworked. Then I met Imagine AI. Imagine AI looks at the steps that you take from your raw images to your final products, and then they replicate that so everything looks like your edits. And the best part is that they learn more and more and get better after every single photo shoot. Since I've been using Imagine AI, it has saved me over 200 hours of editing time, time that I could spend on other things like going to Super Bowl parties and meeting your mom. So, if you want some extra time in your life, go to allheartphoto.com/AI and get your first 1,500 images edited for free. That's allheartphoto.com/AI and get back your time. See how I didn't fixate on your Aunt Robin? This is how you tell a story. Now back to the show. But even before then, even before someone books, what is it? Even before someone buys their ticket, there we go. Even before someone buys their ticket to a conference, before you buy a ticket to a conference, a great sign of a good conference is lives and intros to the speakers. I have attended some conferences where they were like building their speaker lineup just weeks before the conference, to where they're just like, hey, we've got another speaker and it's going to be this person. And it's really hard to sell tickets whenever you don't advertise who your speakers are going to be, or if they keep changing throughout. Because I've also attended conferences. I've been to some not so great ones, apparently, but I've been to some conferences where they advertised certain people and people bought tickets to go see them, and then they never advertised that, or never like communicated saying like, hey, this person is no longer going to be here, or they had a scheduling conflict or anything like that. So having live videos on social media before the conference is great. I love that because it gives me the opportunity to just kind of see who are these people that are putting on the conference, who, like, what is it going to be if they're doing lives with the speakers and just doing like quick little 15-minute chats of, hey, this is who I am, this is what I'm going to be speaking about, I'm excited for this, anyone have some Q&As, whatever. It brings more of that excitement, more community into the run up to the conference. So I love that. That is something to look for when you're looking to go to a conference. Are they doing that? Are they social on social media? Do they have a speaker lineup already? Or is it just kind of like, hey, we've got people, and hopefully you will be interested in hearing from one of them. And speaking of people, it's really great to look at the lineup. I know some conferences, I have attended some just because of the host, and I'm just like, you know what? Even the Creative Educator Conference, I really went because of Layli Amadi, and we have become friends. She's been on the podcast before, and I was just like, whatever group she, like the people that she brings in, they're going to be great. And they were. And I've been to other conferences where it was the same way, like the Heart Conference with Evie and Lindsay, Evie Rupp and Ed McLeod. Now, Evie McLeod, it's been a few years since she's been married. Evie McLeod and Lindsay Roman. Theirs was the same thing. I was like, I trust your group of people because I like them. They're fun. And they had a great group there too. And like that is something you want to look at, who the speaker lineup is, maybe even what they're speaking about if they already have their topics on the bios. Is this going to align with me? Is this like more beginner level of a conference and I'm really not going to be getting as much as I need to? Or is this like way beyond? Because I've looked at some conferences and I'm like, yeah, the like going from 6 to 7 figures, that is something that I would be interested in. But if it's like geared toward like 8-figure business owners, I'm like, I'm not quite there yet. I don't think I'm going to be getting as much, or like this will be good, but it's going to be like notes that I'm going to have to table for a few years before I get there. So looking at who the speakers are, some little little personal touches that I love. They're not really oh, I'm definitely going to go because of this, but they just make the experience so much more fun and enjoyable, are the details and the design. We've all been to the conferences that are just like plain, boring old cookie cutter backdrop with the scripty font of whatever the conference name is. And then it's just like, all right, it's fine. It looks fine. But one thing that I really loved about the Creative Educator Conference was the design. Sarah Erickson, Sarah Ann Designs, she did great. She like hand drew a lot of the artwork, and like the colors were just so well, they went so well together, and just like they're warm and inviting but also springy and fun, and it was something that was like really pleasant to look at. The backdrop was great. There was some fun little like Instagram background photo ops, and that's stuff that really goes like above and beyond just, hey, we're in a conference room, everyone come in, hope you brought a pen and paper, because here you go. But like even all the swag and the details and everything, I'll post a photo right here if you're watching on YouTube of what some of the swag looked like. I got, ooh, almost dropped my camera. This was on. Got a nice hat. I'm not really a hat person, but this one fits. I think it tightened that a little bit for my kid's head, but like it's good quality swag. You also want good quality swag. It's an extra bonus. I know that this is not like a make or break. Oh, I'm not going to this conference again because I didn't get a cool pin. But yeah, it's extra. It also makes you feel more cared about than just, hey, here's a bulk whatever boring pen from Amazon and empty like legal pad for you to write and take notes on. So I just like that. One of the most beneficial things that come out of going to conferences, not outside of the education that you're getting, is the community. And sometimes the community is even better than the education, because you have people to walk alongside of you and to like lift you up and cheer you on, and you're able to cheer them on. And it builds such great friendships when you have a conference that is about community and puts community in the forefront. And I love this. I saw this at Creative Educator Conference. I've seen this at other conferences like Thrive, and I've seen this at like Hybrid, and where you have specific times for community. Where one thing that I liked about Creative Educator is Laylee had little stickers on your lanyard that showed you like what you had to assign seating, pretty much. So you're going to be at table number 5 for lunch, and maybe there was a person or two there that I knew, but a lot of the people I didn't. So I got to meet new friends, and then we had lunch together the next day because we knew each other, and like it built those connections where maybe you wouldn't have met them. Especially if you're more of a wallflower or introvert, or you like your private time away from everyone, and you're not going to be the one that like walks over to a table that only has one seat available, like, hey, can I sit here? You're going to look for the one that has 7 seats available and sit over there by yourself. But I thought that was great. I loved like kind of getting thrown into, this is new community. These are new people. So that kind of thing, looking for conferences that actually have that on the schedule of, hey, at this time, it's going to be intentional, like community time. We're going to do like fireside chats in the evenings, or we're going to do like I've been to, like we do this at Hybrid where we have photo walks, and it's just at this time, you want to join us, we are all walking with our cameras, and we're going to take photos, and we're going to take photos of like wherever the conference is at that point, and also each other, and you get new headshots and new fun stuff, and you get to make new friends. And I've tried out new cameras in those photo walks too, where I'm just like, oh, that's a cool camera. And then I just throw my film in their camera and get to take some. But like that kind of community goes a long way and goes well beyond the 3 or 4 days that you're at the conference. In the same vein of community, access to the speakers is really great. I've been to conferences where it is very much a them versus us kind of mentality with the attendees and the speakers, and they just kind of like hang in the background. They're out in the green room. They're, when everyone else is having lunch all together, the speakers go off for a special fancy lunch. And they're like not at the fireside chats. They're not at those conferences. There were no fireside chats. It was very much just like, you come here, and then the speakers were all very distant. It was very rare that you actually got to talk to them, or just like randomly sit next to them at lunch. So look for those conferences that have more community between you and the speakers too. So some of the best ways that you can look for all of these things, because it's kind of hard to see exactly like what does the design look like, and how do I know if this conference has good community to it. Look at the alumni who has been there before in previous years. Look and see, like, have they gone through a good transformation in the last year or two since attending the conference? Has their business changed? Have you noticed something? If you have friends who have attended something, ask them, what was your experience at this conference? Because I'm interested in going, but I don't want to like spend $1,000 or a couple $1,000 to go to this conference, and now I don't know if I'm going to get my return. So talk to alumni. You can even DM people. You have Instagram on your phone. You have access to people. Whether they reply to your DMs or not, who knows? But it's at least worth a shot to just be like, hey, I'm interested in this conference. I saw that you attended. What did you think about it? I've had people ask me about conferences that I've been a part of. And this is also really good for social proof of not really looking at the social media for the conference, but looking at their tagged posts. So these, you're going to get more of the behind the scenes. You're going to get the like recap reels of, hey, I went to this conference and this was really great and I loved this. Or you're going to get the honest reviews of, not that the positive is not honest, but the also negative honest reviews of, I went to this conference and it was not really great, so I don't think I'm going to be going back to this one. But like looking at those tagged posts is really great. And also you can Google, search on Reddit, search for blogs about what people are saying about the conferences, especially if you're the type of buyer that's just like, you're reading all the reviews, you're getting your social proof, you are lining up all of this to make sure that you have a good return on investment. That's a really great way to look at these conferences before going. Also, some of the hosts, they're very open. I have messaged hosts of workshops that I was interested in and just asked them questions. And usually they're pretty open, especially if it's the like 200 or fewer attendee numbers. They'll take the time. So don't be afraid to DM people. That's what Instagram is for. It's social media. Let's be social. But yeah, I hope this was helpful. I hope this is good. I know that like there are usually some conferences in the fall. There's usually a lot of conferences in the fall to the spring. So I know we're kind of coming out of conference season right now, being in April. But yeah, use this to look at some other conferences. Also, feel free to DM me if you're like, hey, I am looking for this in a conference. I have a lot of friends who host conferences. I know people who host conferences, so I can point you in the right direction of a few. And obviously, not paid or anything, no affiliates there. If there are, I will let you know. Just be like, honest review is great. And I do have an affiliate, so I will get like $25 for this. Which, by the way, I am not being paid by anyone to talk about any of the conferences that I talked about today, either positive or negative, which would be weird if they were paying me to talk negatively about their conference. But yeah, I'm not getting anything from any of those people. I did reach out to Laylee just because I've already bought my ticket for the 2026 Creative Educator Conference because I really enjoyed this last one and got a ton out of it. And I'm planning to go again. And I wanted to have a link for registration. It is not open yet as of recording this, so I'm just going to throw the waitlist email or the link to the waitlist in the show notes for you. If maybe you had a little bit of FOMO seeing all of the reels and all the behind the scenes and the stories and everything on Instagram, you're like, you know what, I want to go this next year. Join the waitlist. I would love to see you there. But yeah, thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Wisdom and the Tangents podcast. I have the show notes for you. They're right here in the podcast player that you're watching this / listening to this on. And be sure to subscribe if you're not already. And I'll see you next week. And hopefully at a conference soon. Bye, y'all.